turn it around and put it back in again to shoot a guy fucking twice.
Are these bad guys? Are these drug dealers?
Are they going to get the memo and
give in? They're turning in their guns.
You sound like the RNC right now.
If I wanted to have
the last guy that was killed,
bazooka, do you think I should be able to have one?
Well, I'm sorry, 2 guys that were killed protesting.
You brought this up a while back, Jason.
Was it like, what, a couple of days ago? You know, last week?
This idea that pistols are somehow safer than long arms.
And they have bazookas. Why can't you have a bazooka? Why can't you have a bazooka? Why can't you have a bazooka?
He was running down the street, and there were people chasing after him. They were saying that he shot somebody. That, you know, like, stop him.
And so they were able to catch up to him because he tripped.
Does anyone believe there'll be less violence in America if Donald Trump is reelected? Donald Trump is reelected. Donald Trump is reelected. Trump is reelected. Trump is reelected. Trump is
It is absolutely 100%, 100% just gross that the kid did. You know what I mean?
I mean, we call that, I do believe they call it
Hunting.
hunting.
Adam, guess what?
Yes.
Hey, we're recording. Ryan, guess what?
What?
We are in effect.
We're in effect. Good.
Hey, welcome everybody to Public Access America. I'm sitting here today with Ryan from the Denton County Collective, Adam Has a Beard, Sean from Adam Has a Beard, and myself, which seems to be on all of them for some reason. And you know, there's been a lot going on in the news, and actually a couple weeks ago, Ryan had brought up the idea of all of us getting together to talk about just the simple guns, you know, 4 letters. And we just thought, and then, like, you know, we all finally confirmed, and this week, you know, this Jacob Blake thing happened, and holy cow, you know what I mean? It couldn't be more timely. So Joe might be joining us a little bit. He's from the Denton County Collective. He's been on Adam Has a Beard. And so, yeah, we all know each other. I mean, Sean, that's Ryan. Ryan, that's Sean. We all know each other.
What's up, brother?
Hey, man.
And so, yeah, I just wanted to get a feeling. I'll start with, like, Ryan. How you feeling about this week and the use of guns, you know?
I mean, that's a loaded question. Oh, that's also fun.
No.
I don't talk guns very often, so I'm new to this, but I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, whatever. How do I feel about this week? I don't know, man. I just got over being sick and also watching parts of the RNC. So it's been a rough time for me. I've been trying to get off the social media this week because of all of the back and forth, because of this incident with the guns and basically a school shooting that just happened because there was no school. It seems like to me.
Wow.
It's how it feels like, you know, everyone's like fighting about here and locally in Texas, you know, man, they get what they deserve. You hit them with something, you get shot, you get killed, you know, you break something, you die. So everyone's like, there's a lot of lack of, I don't know, care for human life. It seems like right now, even in the conversation, if whatever you support, you know, I just feel like it's a gross thing. It's a gross thing. That's all.
Yeah. No, I agree. And Adam, I know how you feel about guns, but I also know how you feel about gun safety. But you also had a unique take on the gun that was actually used, that the 17-year-old was using. I'm not going to use his name. He doesn't deserve that. But well, I know we talked about that on Adam Has a Beard, which just came out today. So I wanted to get your perspective on that actually too.
You know, I just it is absolutely 100% just gross what that kid did. You know what I mean? I mean, we call that, I do believe they call it hunting. You know what I mean? What he did, traveled state lines, his mom took him, whatever it was, doesn't even matter what he did. He went across and he went and took 2 lives and mangled another dude's arm, you know?
Yeah.
And, I think everybody knows, Sean knows this. I love AR-15s. I love guns. I love everything about them. But in this instance, it's like he completely disobeyed every single rule that was out there in place for us gun owners who are absolutely fanatics about them, who actually endorse these rules, who appreciate these rules. He went above and beyond to destroy, dismantle, and throw it in everybody's face. Guess what? Fuck you. It doesn't matter. I'm an American. I could do what I want.
Yeah.
And I personally take offense to it, because it's like I'm preaching all these things about gun safety and how, my kids and how I want to raise my kids and this and that. But this kid's just, why?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And mom took him to do it.
Yes.
Just drove him to do it.
Really? Because I was
Yes.
saying that if his family had been more supportive and maybe they had heard the idea, they would have been like, "No, son, stay home, watch Leave It to Beaver with us." But I guess not.
They were supportive in the way that they took his ass across state lines. You know what I mean?
And knowingly, I believe it's illegal for him to even carry that gun, out in the open, because he's 17. I don't know the
Exactly.
laws. I don't know the laws, so maybe you
That's
guys can help me,
crazy.
enlighten me when I.
That's the
when
thing.
spouting out,
I was
whatever.
gonna ask Sean exactly, because he's former police and former military, and he's trained people on guns. Did you have any? I mean, from the cop grabbing Jacob's shirt and shooting him in the back at close range like that, and this kid with the gun in a crowd of people with guns being the only one to actually like kill somebody in this entire situation. Do you see anything from like an officer point of view?
It's I've watched a little bit of the video from the 17-year-old kid. Everybody's got a cell phone now and stuff like that. And unfortunately, we only get tidbits of information depending on what you're watching or who's giving out this kind of information. I do know that the state that this was in, I believe it's Minnesota. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, excuse me. Yeah, Wisconsin. The law is you have to be 18 years or older to carry openly carry a rifle. So
Right.
he would definitely be, unfortunately, at that time, breaking that law.
Right.
And then, again, I will reiterate that his own mother took him knowing that he had the rifle. If you want to go protest or counter protest or whatever, it's great. It's great. But as a child, he's not even an adult. As a child, I myself am not going to send my 2 children over to, it's a volatile situation at best.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of emotions going on either side. It doesn't matter what side you're on.
Yeah.
And then dropping them off with a deadly weapon, you're just, what would have happened if he would have died? Then you already have all this stuff on your conscience.
Right.
Your son has done, regardless of what you believe, if it was self-defense, whatever, it doesn't matter. Your son, your 17-year-old child, will never, ever be the same again. And neither will the people.
Yeah.
It's very concerning in that nature that would happen. And I know that some states would be Johnny on the spot and charging parents with child endangerment. Right away. That's my mind is I'd be charging them with child endangerment for, you charge a getaway driver robbery if they do a bank.
100%.
The mom may be looking at some pretty serious charges here, possibly.
I really hope so.
I hope so too.
And then Ryan, I want to ask you this, because you just said you watched the RNC. How do you feel the fact that what 35-40% of the country is touting him as a hero.
That might be a little bit high, but yeah, I mean the plan is like they're losing, so the plan is just throw the ridiculous stuff. I mean, they're just throwing everything against the wall, of course, and see what sticks. But it's not, if you don't choose me, you're choosing evil, and you're choosing the dark people.
No, that was literally the
No,
transcript
like
of
this. It's
Trump's
it's gonna
speech.
become communism in the next 8 years. It will not even be socialist. It'll be communist. Like we're gonna lose our entire country. The whole constitution is gonna get ripped up. AOC is gonna go eat it or something, and like light it on fire, whatever he does. And it was ridiculous. It was like childish. Like if you don't vote for me for class president, you're never gonna get donuts for the rest of your life. It was really stupid. I had to turn it off like every night. I had to turn it off. I was
But
like,
does this kid and what he did actually fit into what you heard? Because I don't think any of us actually listened to.
they didn't talk about it. They ignored the pandemic mostly. They ignored the protests and the cop shooting,
Okay.
and the counter protests, and the kid that shot the people, and the people that whatever. They ignored most of that.
Right.
They talked about the pandemic a little bit, but no, it was all like, we are the law and order. I'm the law and order president, and if they have their way, look at them, these thugs, these anarchists. If they get their way, then you're going to lose everything. Like, come on,
Yeah.
But it's well, if it's such a bad time right now, you're the fucking president. Like, it's under your watch all this is happening. I wonder how in a different administration, an Obama administration, how they would
A Bush.
deal with protests like this. Like a Bush, the Million Man March happened, I think, under Bush, didn't it?
Yeah, and he was there. He stood with them.
Yeah. So I mean, and I think this relates to the shooting stuff, because like the mother of
That's
this
what I'm
child,
saying.
right? Because it's very Trumpy and very red hat. It's almost like with the racist show we had. It's like they're letting these people crawl out of the woodwork and give them like license to do whatever they want, and it's like that's where the problem is. Like, I think personally.
Okay, I understand. Hey, Adam, if I wanted to have a bazooka, do you think I should be able to have one?
No.
Why?
Why not? Yeah, that sounds fun.
In theory.
Would you do it a watermelon, dude?
I mean, I might have to take the training for it and stuff, but I mean, don't you think you deserve a bazooka?
No, definitely not. There's a lot of shit that I would do if I had a bazooka that would not be safe for anybody. So I'm just going to say no.
Well,
there's a fine line. I think you want some of those kind of weapons. I mean, you have to become a dealer. You have to be an instructor. You have to have a certain class license for it. You have to be.
Is this what you're thinking, or is this the actual law?
I don't know about the actual law, but this is what I know.
Yeah, we're talking about, because honestly, the right to bear arms means that if the government can have it, I should have something to defend myself from that government if it goes evil. And they have bazookas, Adam. So why can't you have a bazooka?
I just, I can't tell you the answer why I can't, but I know morally, I don't think I should have one.
Okay. I understand. Honestly, we do have them because we're the people that pay for the bazookas.
Yes, sir.
If the government goes bad, we take over the warehouse with the bazookas. You with me? You with me, Sean?
I mean, you could buy a you could buy a Apache chopper if you had the billions of dollars if you really wanted to.
Okay, the government has.
But
I mean,
you can't arm it.
Yeah.
You can't.
No, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't come armed. You don't get that discount. You'd have to make your own.
Right, but we did. We paid the taxes that bought that Apache, so it is ours. We can go and visit it anytime we want, right?
No.
I wish it worked like that.
I mean, I would like it almost be like Uber. Oh, hey, you guys paid for this. Come use it.
So I have a question for you, Sean. There it is. So Democrats want to take your guns, but actually, I've never heard a Democrat say that. What I have heard them say, though, is they don't want you to have automatic weapons. But that would mean or imply or infer that we can now have automatic weapons and they will stop that from happening. Can I have an automatic weapon?
Absolutely, 100% you can, as long as you do it the legal way. And it's a real pain in the ass.
I know there's like little things they sell. Like you're not supposed to sell an arm. You're not supposed to sell an automatic rifle, right? You have to buy the kits, right? And like the parts.
So as long as you have a Class 3 license, which you have to pay for every year, and I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think it's like $3,000 a year after the initial whatever the fee is to the ATF. Go ATF. Not really. Just kidding. And then you're pretty restricted on what you can do with it. And I know that in Raymond, a guy had some automatic weapons, and for him to keep his Class 3 license, he had to do some demos for the police force. So we got to go out and, shoot some automatic weapons, stuff like that, and he gets to keep his Class 3 license and all that good stuff. And the common everyday folk of America are more likely than not going to get that Class 3 license.
Okay, so there is a line.
Can you open carry an automatic weapon? It doesn't matter. I was just wondering.
I don't know the answer to that.
It's all about the same. I mean, it's all about the same to me.
I don't know like if the open carry law here in Washington. I don't know if it like differentiates from semi-auto to auto.
I don't know.
Off the top of my head, that's actually a pretty good question.
Can you carry any long gun? Open carry any long gun?
I believe if you're over the age of 18, you can. Actually, yeah. Or no, they 21. Yeah, they changed it to 21. So I think anybody over the age of 21 can open carry. You cannot conceal carry unless you have a concealed carry license.
So I could have my birthday, go out and get fucking drunk as fuck and carry a semi-automatic long gun.
not in Washington. Not in Washington State. It's actually illegal to be intoxicated and open carry and conceal carry as well.
Okay.
You cannot a habit. I think that's the term. A bar or a place that serves alcohol and concealed carry. What baffled me is when I was down in Oregon. You can conceal carry in a bar, which is it's crazy to me.
It's like that's a restriction, and people don't really complain about it. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of I live in Texas,
right?
So like, people don't go run around like, they're taking my rights back down. They're taking my, I can't drink my whiskey, and I got my,
right.
Like, and like when you talk about something else, like a regulation, like what Jason's saying, like, where's the line of what's allowable?
Right.
I have to have that time. That's part of the conversation. If you don't come up with a line, then just take them away, or everyone gets everything, or who knows. But it's like, there are already restrictions in place, and it's not infringing on rights, like we just have to decide what we like. And I guess the states do that, I suppose.
Right.
Kind of like to make the choice for you before you actually want to do it. You know what I mean? It's like, this is what you can do, but here's that fine line,
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be better if the people had a voice in that before the government made that decision?
100%.
I mean, it's all a referendum, so the people have to vote on it, or your representatives vote on it. So it's not like one guy going, no.
Well, it's like the gun lobby pays for this. It's for this to go away. Are you guys big NRA member fans?
Nope.
No.
Cool. The lobby is a shithole. I mean, they're not cool. It's not good. Like when people are killed, they have like rallies and stuff in those neighboring cities. It's like, I mean, they're buying the politicians, but I just think that
they were.
Yeah. The whole lobby system should be gone, in my opinion. That should be gone.
Agreed.
And this is a conversation about parenting. I want to say this. We got to talk about this at some point.
Let's do it.
At some point, some parents got to go, you can't have nice things. If you can't be appropriate, you can't have your shit. You can't have stuff.
That's right.
So someone in this country, now the Democrats don't do that as a platform, but it's a thought to be like, sorry, no guns, man. Like, we can't do it safely. Our cops, who are our trained people, they can't do it safely. They shoot whoever the fuck they want to shoot. Our children go to school, shoot up their schools because of whatever stupid thing that they're worried about. Like they're not allowed to have guns. So these are like the innocent and the most trained people are abusing it, and then everything few and far between. Like Australia did it.
New Zealand
wiped out all guns. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, New Zealand and England. I love their approach, and I think that I really am all for this like cop beat thing again. Like make a cop like a postal service. He walks around the neighborhood, everyone likes him, talks to him. He keeps his gun in a fucking trunk in a lockbox. He doesn't have a gun. Like England, they don't have guns. They don't carry guns. When someone gets real nasty, they just tire out the bad guy and they don't shoot him. I think that we need to get away from that. We need to get away from weapons. I personally think that.
See, I thought you were about to say, like, my thought is, if you can't trust your kids, you shouldn't have a gun in the house. You know what I mean? But no, you were going full blown.
I'm going. We should be we don't get guns for a while.
I was hoping somebody would take that side.
Here's the bad thing about that. I don't think that it'll happen because for a while would mean forever. Because the way this government runs, the way they try to restrict us and constrict us and just keep us completely down, we won't get those privileges back.
But is that bad? I mean, we're creating a fake utopia to see where it would go if there was no guns.
But
it's not real.
It's real. This is happening everywhere else, and we're saying it can't happen here. But other countries have taken these measures, and they've drastically reduced weapons.
And it's a beautiful thing too. You're right. You're absolutely 100% right.
Is it though? That's what I'm asking.
The bad thing about that is, are these bad guys, are these criminals, are these drug dealers, are they going to get the memo and turn in their guns?
You sound like the RNC right now.
Well, fuck the RNC.
The whole world's going to go
fuck the RNC.
But
fuck
you know what I'm
guys.
saying? I'm just making a point. Is like that's the exact.
I agree.
It's the fear. Like we don't know what's going to happen because it's never happened.
Right.
So yes, we could conceivably, these bad guys might show up and you won't have a shotgun to protect your house. And now like, oh my gosh, they're going to take all your shit. Okay, that's possible. Also, what about no children dying? That's kind of nice. What about black people not getting shot every day or 2 or 3? That's nice too. Like, so who knows until we do it? I don't think that I'm not actually all for banning all the guns, but we should have that conversation a little bit.
No, I like the fact that you're willing to take that side.
We should take it away from people. Like if you're caught with alcohol next to your gun, or you're drinking out in your park and shooting things or in your own land and doing something, but if you're caught and you do something wrong, no more guns for you. Sorry.
Let's just start that way and
treat them like a felon. Treat more people like felons when it comes to weapons.
I think that's how it is.
Unless you get this Class C thing, you don't carry a gun like at all. Like you pay $3,000 a year and you go to training. Okay, you can have a handgun hidden. But don't walk around with a long rifle and like there's no point. There's no point. Like these guns, handguns and military assault rifles are only made to kill lots of people. Like that's their job, is to kill humans. I can get on board with shotguns. I get on board with hunting rifles all day. But I mean, these are weapons designed to kill people. So I think we should think about limiting them at some point. No one's really trying to do this though in our society. No. But I'm just like, when does a parent step up and go, sorry, you don't get these things because you abuse them? Like, we did a war on drugs because we abused the drugs.
How well did that work out?
And then, of course, right?
the government had the fist up the donkey's ass in that one.
Yes, they did.
So it didn't help anybody.
Yeah. And that's also my point. Like you can't do it like that. Like you can't just it doesn't work like that. But
okay, no, he makes a good case. I'll give up my gun right now.
Yeah. Well, so I'll play devil's advocate on this. I do definitely respect what you say, Ryan. But so we just have to take a look at one city, Chicago.
Oh,
it has the toughest gun laws in America.
Okay.
And I don't know the exact number of shooting victims / deaths this past weekend. I think it was upwards of 200 people were shot in the most restricted city in America.
Right.
There are people that aren't supposed to have guns that because they're convicted felons people sell guns on the street every day in Chicago. The government sells freaking guns to, stuff like that. and it's not going to be one of those things where you can just shut the faucet off and say, "Hey, all guns are illegal."
Yeah, of course not.
You know, I think it comes more to along the lines of mental health, really.
Okay.
You know,
Okay, there's an angle.
people are evil inherently all over the world. I'll take
Bold statement.
England or Great Britain, whatever it was. You know, they have a large population of Muslims, which is fantastic. Here in the past couple of years, they've had terrorist attacks where a guy on a knife has a knife on a train and kills 10 or 12 people, and they have their bobbies, their police officers with no guns. Well, they're getting chopped up too because they don't have guns, and they have the special units where they have the guns. And oh, hey, it takes 20 minutes to get these guys out here. You know, it's the same thing as along the lines of people that are wanting to defund the police officers and have these mental health professionals get more money. Well, mental health professionals aren't going to be on patrol 24/7.
But they are.
They're not though. I've experienced it 100%.
Like in Oregon, they have the Cahoots program. For 30 years, they've been 911 calls them, they respond, and only 150 times in the past 5 years have they had to call police as backup.
So in Washington State is the 50th out of 50th state for mental health. They're the worst state.
100%.
This is how it works in Washington State. So some guy or gal is a harm to themselves or others. Somebody calls them because something. Police officer goes to that call. They determine that person is a threat to themselves or others. They call dispatch. Dispatch calls the on-call mental health person who's sleeping. Oh yeah, just send them up to the hospital. You got to sit on them for till I get there. Okay,
72-hour hold.
That takes that officer off the streets. In my town, it could be the only officer. So then you're having time for officer to call out. So then that officer's sitting. Mental health comes up, evaluates him, calls Western State Hospital. Oh, sorry, we don't have any beds. Which 100% out of the 100% of the time that I had somebody, it was, we don't have any beds.
You know you're making our case for us, right?
Yeah, you told
Do what?
I've already written down what I'm. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead then.
Go ahead.
Okay. So then they release them because there's no crimes. So that person's got to follow up with MHP during the normal work hours of the MHP facility. So then they go and harm somebody or harm themselves, and then are commit a crime, and then they're arrested, and then they're in jail, and then the corrections officers have to deal with a mental health person. Smaller facilities don't have the person always there, or even a medical facility, infirmary, if you will. For that, especially in my area. So then you have just corrections officers who have very little training on this. You know, these guys have to experience this over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's not fair to them at all.
No, it's not. And so, you know, I think we have a pretty in-depth mental health issue in America, and I think we need to get the help for that first and foremost before we start taking guns away.
I totally agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
And I will say, I can't remember who touched on it. I think if we're going to tighten the screws on gun stuff, let's do more training. Hey, you want to buy a gun? Cool. You have to complete such and such hours of training in this course before you can even purchase this gun.
Yep.
I think that would,
like a car.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you have to take, exactly. You have to take a test to drive. It's a pretty not extensive test, but it's a pretty good test. I think it's the same way with a firearm, and I think that would slowly, you'd see some of these numbers go down. I would hope.
Yeah. I think that you have to take, if you were to go do something like that, you'd have to go. A car would be too basic to get that license. So I mean, think about the CDL. You know what I mean? which is
Yeah.
far more extensive. You have to be drug free. You have to be evaluated. You have to go through this physical agility. You have to do all these
Wow.
hoops to get a firearm.
Yeah.
And trust me, I know. Trust me, I want to fire up a fucking fat joint and just get down on it. But you know what? I can't because I have a CDL and I work my ass off for that thing. So if you want to have a gun, you have to go through all these hoops. You get that specialized license. Go get your CDL. Go get your whatever concealed carry permit. But you go through your course. You have to go through a mandatory 72 hours or however long the course should be. Hunter safety, all these things that you have to go through here in Washington State.
Wow.
To carry a firearm. Before you carry a firearm, be sure that all that certification, all that stuff is done. Otherwise, you can't carry one. Because why would you carry one? I mean, why would I, as a CDL driver, go out and like, fuck it. You know what? I'm just going to go and get hammered and I'm going to drive around. Nope, can't happen because that truck that I'm driving is considered a weapon.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I could go out and kill people with that truck.
Of course.
Same
Okay.
concept with the gun. It's a privilege to have a gun. It's not your sure it's a given right, whatever. It's a privilege. To me, it's a privilege to own a gun, to have
It
a gun.
is. But that
You know
not
what I mean?
everybody feels the same way. But
No,
I
that's
think
the
you're
problem.
relating guns to like cigarettes. You can't get rid of cigarettes altogether, but you can tax and regulate the fuck out of them until they're not in existence anymore. You know? But I think Ryan was going to answer a point to Sean, and I don't want to get too far away from the mental health.
Yeah.
Well, and the mental health came up after we were talking about my conversation. We should just get rid of the guns, right? So I will close that line of. Although I will close it after I reply to your response, Sean, because your response was absolutely stupid. And this is what your response to my we should maybe not have guns. Well, in England, sometimes a Muslim terrorist that's supported by a group over in the Middle East, occasionally on the subway, someone gets sliced a little bit. Is not compare that to the number of children who are murdered by their peers, the maybe 50 British people who have died in the past whatever decade or whatever to train being cut up because the bobbies don't have guns is significantly less than our dead children, just dead children, from gun violence. So I didn't like that response to comparing England to this because it's a lot safer there. People do have guns, but not the cops don't shoot their people, they don't get out, they don't get carried away. The 40% abusers that do that job, they don't have the weapons to shoot people, so there's a lot more violence. Anyway, I will stop that line of thought. But with mental health, I think that could solve so much problems. We just talked about kids shooting them, other kids and kids mothers taking them to these. If we had a mental health system, part of our healthcare system, maybe for everyone,
a fully funded one,
wouldn't that be nice? Then things like gun violence wouldn't be an issue. Then things like heroin overdoses wouldn't be an issue because everyone throughout their whole lives can go to the doctor and they can ease their pain. They can get preventative healthcare. They get psychologists, something that helps them deal with whatever imbalances they have. If we had that in our country, it would fix, we wouldn't have to be probably even talking about guns, If we would have rolled this out 50 years ago, we probably wouldn't have the gun problem we have today because there's a lot of other places in this world that don't have the gun problem, it's unique to us.
I want to just say,
I think it's
talking about mental health being a line item in the defund situation, what Sean explained was an underfunded mental health prepared system. So what you're saying is that we shouldn't do it because it doesn't work because we're not funding it. But if we funded it better and there was beds and there was 50 mental health people on call instead of just that one, and that they wouldn't get to the jail. I think it's ridiculous, and I think it's a money system to put a person in the hospital to spit him out. The hospital gets money, spit him out, goes to jail. The jail gets money, spit him back out. And I think if we had 50 mental health people, that corrections officer, he wouldn't be so stressed. And that cop that has to go and see a accident and write up the report and exchange license, he isn't going to be that one cop that's taken away from everything. You know what I mean? So he's still going to be available for the more serious things, and when he goes home, he's not going to be so stressed. because he didn't have to go from talking a wife and a husband down from an alcoholic stupor to some kid that has an actual rifle and is an actual threat.
Yeah. And that's a big argument for defund the police. Now, I don't like the term defund the police because it just sounds so horrible.
Right.
I am getting to like it more now because it's so polarizing. You know, it's like, well, what does this mean? Like everyone just, you know, let's say a simple suburban person that doesn't read the news or know very much, pretty non-intelligent person, right? Not very active.
Right.
That sounds like a scary thing. Like, oh my gosh, the police are here to like protect us and to do things, you know? It's like, no, it's like reallocate. Camden, New Jersey is a great example of a city in this country that was reformed like it was a decade ago, and all their cops went to beats, and all of them it's right next to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a dangerous place, you know, and then just down the road is Baltimore. Yep. That's a dangerous place, you know, and this is all the same kind of people. Like, you know, like the Camden's also pretty poor. It's a really, really poor town, you know, kind of liquor store in every corner kind of place. And now everyone is friends with their cop. Their local cop just walks down the street like the mailman.
He lives in the community?
And that's, yeah, well, I mean, no, they have beats, like, but like the community has a local cop. That cop is always in this area. Okay. That cop is always there to help with issues. So like when people start fighting, they're like, Jimmy, we got it. Right. And like now they're talking, now they know each other. So you're not going to shoot some strange, like, especially like, let's say shooting black people. You know, that's a problem. You know, there's none of that. There's less of that. And if you know someone, you're not just going to assume, oh, I'm scared because of the way I was raised or whatever. I don't know what this person's going to do. Like when you live in a community, you know the crazy guy down the street that, you know, like, you know, to watch out for him. And if something like happens, you're like, you let people know, cop, like officer, he's a little bit like, you know, like he's a little bit wacky, watch out, you know?
Yeah, people love to gossip.
But I think that this is like that's a defunded city. That the police officers were completely, it was like eliminated. Their police system was eliminated and replaced with something new. Okay. And, you know, the fire department's like that too. And it's not scary because it's working, you know, in a rough city. And I think that's one example that we need to look at more that our country is not really looking at. And they're just talking more about, I guess, politics right now when it comes to
So I think the test will be, we'll see what happens in Seattle, because I mean, I think that's what's happening. They're defunding, destructurizing, and reallocating these funds and these police officers to different part of the city or different part of the county. Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see if that actually works. You know, I'm not opposed to defunding, but I don't, like you guys, I don't like the term defunding. I just think it's not, I mean, it
causes conversation actually.
Yeah,
but it'd be hard to pass a vote. It would be hard to pass a vote and say defund.
Right.
I think realistically, I think instead of saying defund the police, you know, it's not just the police. You know, that's the bottom layer of where this starts. We need to say defund the criminal justice system, because you have these political prosecutors.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a money system.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's 100% money. That's it's got to flow through that. Even we can go back to the mental health system. You know, again, they've got some issues, and unfortunately, the way it's set up now is they get hooked up, and then they get put into the criminal justice system, and then they sit for months and months and months in jail because there's no beds and stuff. You know, there has to be a better way to do.
We have a guy here that was picked up for just PI, you know, he was just walking around intoxicated, right? He needs $100 to get out. He's been in jail for 6 months in the current COVID situation because he can't come up with $100 to get out. That's ridiculous. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and so it's a broken system. It's you know, it's not just the police. The police is the bottom layer. But I think with that, I think that actually police need more training. So with training comes more cost. It's not less cost. If you are looking strictly to just look at that bottom layer of defunding the police, you're going to see negative results, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, they should have a wide array of things to train. They should have their choices from practicing with their firearm too, beginning your bachelor's in mental health, or maybe prescriptions, or so they know what to look, they should have their array of everything, even downtime, like art and meditation and things that would help them. But that's the police. And I want to talk about guns a little bit, because you guys are for safety. And what we've talked about before is gun clubs, and not everybody having a gun. But I'm thinking of like going to the gym, having a locker with your guns in it, and being a part of a gun club, so that you still get your gun, you still get to go to the range, you still get to have fun and be an enthusiast, like joining the Moose Lodge. But it's a gun enthusiast. And in that way, you can create your own rules, your contract. You don't do this, like the Shriners. The Shriners have a certain, set of rules that they adhere to. And so like a gun club, you could do the same thing. You just don't take your gun home necessarily, but it's there. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, in theory, it sounds like a good idea, but
no,
at the same time, I wouldn't want my guns in a bunch of, what if shit went down? What if what if there's a gang shootout? No, I don't know, man. Honestly, I just don't like the idea of having my property out there. What if somebody broke into that spot, busted open the lockers, and just started taking guns, and then committed crimes?
What if somebody came into your house and busted into your locker and took your guns and committed crimes?
At least we know it would be my gun. Then I could report it stolen. You know what I mean? But there, you don't know. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't have.
Well, and then you don't have the gun for home safety.
That's right. That's why it's a stupid idea.
I mean, I was a gun owner. I've been a gun owner, and I got gun owner because of where I lived. I lived in Dallas and downtown. And there were shots outside my window like every week. So I'm like, I'm getting a shotty, man. I'm getting the mossy. Yeah. Went to the gun club. In fact, went to the gun club, learned how to shoot it, and then I went to like land, learned how to shoot it, brought it home finally, and I'm like nice form above perch, in case I need to get someone coming in, and I sold it because I was moving in with a child. So the mother was like, "Nah, I don't want this," and I'm like, "I respect that," so I sold it.
So we all agree that we deserve to have a gun at home.
So yeah,
so now we're getting to the point of we want a gun at home. What is an irrational gun to have at home, and how do we keep it safe and individually usable? How about that?
And then what stops Johnny to go to school with it?
Exactly.
A trigger lock, a DNA print, a safe.
Anything that keeps it under lock and key. Like my guns, they are under lock and key. I do that not because, the old lady says, "Hey, I don't like guns." Guess what? No. That's not how it works. I got a fucking gun. I got a gun. Plain and simple. Get used to it. It'll be around the fucking house. 100%. And then now there's a safety security net where she's like, "Oh, okay, well, you know how to use the gun. You're trained on it. Cool. All right. I can get used to that idea." But the kids was my concern. Because like when I started having kids, I was like, man, I got a lot of guns. I got to put some locks on these motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
So locks, trigger locks. And this is before everybody was like, "Oh, it's the big thing. You have to do this and that." Yeah. Okay. Whatever. But common sense says, hey, put these goddamn things on if you're going to have kids, because what's going to happen? For me, when I was growing up, it was, what is that shooting out there in Colorado?
Columbine?
Yes.
Columbine. Yeah.
That was the big thing. So that sat in the back of my mind for the longest time. It's like, fuck, if I ever have a kid, I want my kid to understand that these are not considered to play toys. These are not to be considered to hurt anybody. If you're going to point that at somebody, you better be goddamn sure to get all the repercussions. So everything's under lock and key. I got trigger locks. I got safe. They're in a double locked in a safe. I don't care if it takes me a long time to get that out. At least I know my kid's not going to get in there and get it. You know what I mean?
You don't think all that.
It's no longer home protection though.
Yeah, it is not.
That's almost like you can just might as well keep it at the gun club.
Exactly.
It's all locked away.
Yep, but at the same time, those weapons are not for sport shooting. Those things aren't for home protection. Those guns are for going out onto the range. Right. I take them out. I understand your point, but I don't want them at a fucking gun club. I want them here.
No, we're talking about the gun. We're talking about the gun on your nightstand. How do we make sure the gun on your nightstand doesn't get into your kid's hands so that he can hurt somebody with it?
Oh, you mean with the DNA lock kit on it, so he can't get into it?
There's
That
one.
one?
So I'll tell you, before we even talk about locks, safes, anything like that, first and foremost, it's going to be education. Gun safety education, period.
100%.
And that's
Where is that
before the
been-
lock? I
where
think
is
that
Before
might
the
be
lock,
in, that might be
before
in
the gun,
conjunction.
before the gun. I mean,
Okay.
this is, I'm pro gun, like everything.
Yeah. That's why you're here, bud. That's why you're here.
But if safety is not involved, if education is not involved,
It's a problem.
you shouldn't own a gun, period.
Okay.
Period. And then we could talk about locks. There's biometric systems. Anything that involves a key is not home defense, because you don't have those fine motor skills where you're waking up and, oh God, somebody, you got 5 seconds to get this gun out. We're talking biometric, fingerprint, stuff like that, where you can get it. Vault Tech is a new company. They make some pretty snazzy stuff where you can screw in this little safe that you could put in your nightstand and put a pistol in it, and you have to put your thumbprint in it.
Yep.
You can get it out pretty quick.
So I like
But
this.
so they technology is definitely on our side now here in the 2020, where we can have those things that would be considered easy access, but still have those safety issues where our children or our loved ones aren't grabbing the guns and doing something very heinous with them.
Right.
So that's part of the education part, right? So you kind of went there. So where in the world is that done properly? Like who should we look up to? Where do we look to be like, let's do this correctly?
What should we
own guns,
fund to
safely.
make that possible?
Where is that done? I don't know. I'm just asking.
So I think it should start at the point of when you're out there looking for guns. When you approach the counter, your local mom and pop gun shop. Hey, I'm looking into this gun here. Oh, okay. Well, then you know what? This is what you need to look at. Here, start here. Let's look in and all the safety, the rules, the courses. Start here before you proceed to buying your gun or looking at your gun.
I think Sean is talking well before that. He's talking about 3 years old, 4 years old, right? Before a kid touches a gun, who's going to teach? Is it going to be in our schools? Is it going to be a separate school? Is it going to be a training class that you bring your kids to, or is it going to be the parent?
So honestly, I was blessed with employment where I was at Threat Dynamics. So you could go buy a gun wherever you want, wherever you choose.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to sell you a gun, period.
If you're over 18.
Yeah, legally. If you're on the legal lines of able to buy a gun, you can go anywhere you want. But they're just going to sell you a gun more likely than not. I worked at Threat Dynamics. We had the luxury of having a live fire range, some other stuff, some classes. So we would really push these classes. Oh, this is your first gun. You know what? Hey, we have this basic intro to handgun class going on. We can get you in. Actually, you get a discount if you are to purchase this gun. If not, we could do private lesson. We could show you how this gun works, how to safely store it. All those things you're touching on all those safety points before they even leave the store with this gun. It's really a moral responsibility.
But that's not that. Can we? I'm sorry, guys. Nice to see y'all.
Hey, Joe, what's up, brother?
Thank you for being here.
Hey, can we agree that that's not the typical experience, though? You're talking.
Oh no,
about
that's why I said that.
We agree.
You could go to Walmart and buy an AR, a shotgun. They don't sell pistols anymore, but they're not going to tell you. The guy behind the counter at the gun store is not going to tell you how to use this properly. Where the safety's at. How to load it properly, even just the basic.
But you're talking about an 18-year-old, and the kid that just killed and shot people is 17. So
proper gun owners, they all had the open carries, and they all went through the trainings. They've all gone through all the things and did it properly. And the kid still does. This still happens.
But we're still trying to find out where a kid. You guys have said it before that a kid should start his gun training around 3, but not with a real gun. So between the age of 3 and the point where you're talking about it, threat dynamics, how are you going to educate him? Who's going to educate him? And who do we give money to fund to make that possible?
I mean, we could just pray about it. It'd probably be best.
Is it our school system?
Thank you, Jesus can help.
Is it our school system? Is it a separate class like you take your kid to karate? Is it extracurricular? Or is it our churches?
I mean, the churches are a good spot. You can start there.
WAP. That's what I like to say. WAP. Not
Right.
that what Cardi B says. Worship and pray.
Hey, Joe, let me get you in here on this one. How about this? Do you think parents should spend more time with their kids, and maybe if they see a child that could be prone to depressions or anxieties or outbursts, maybe they should give their gun up for a while?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
Good
that's well beyond what we're talking about, though.
No,
Again,
it's right where we're talking about.
I don't think we. I mean, we don't have that kind of regulation. We don't have that kind of regulation where you can even, like, we don't have the kind of system set up where we could even.
But as a parent, shouldn't an individual parent to pay more attention to their kids? Just shouldn't they be, and realize that if their child is something that could possibly use the gun to hurt people, if they're that stupid, I'm sorry, shouldn't maybe the parent have the you're a parent, that's why I'm asking.
Sure.
Shouldn't the parent have the balls? Yeah, and Adam and maybe Ryan and I, we don't know, but you know. But shouldn't the parent take some responsibility? This kid's mom
100%.
drove him there, right? So shouldn't the mom?
No, she was there with him.
Right.
Yeah, no, for sure. But we're talking about, again, this is a problem that's well beyond that. This woman was there with her child, 17 years old. He's still a child.
But she thinks that's right, and we're trying to explain why that's wrong. Right. Is that wrong?
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's against the law, first of all. I mean, in that state and in Wisconsin, where he committed these heinous crimes,
yep.
And the state where he came from, Illinois, 17 is not a legal carrying age. First and foremost, he should be charged, and so should she. Actually, first and foremost, she should be charged, and then he should be as well. Right. As a minor, unfortunately, but still charged with a federal crime. Murder is last I checked, manslaughter is a federal crime, right?
Oh, of course.
People serving time in Texas,
right.
For murder.
And yep. I mean, and we as a nation have a long history of persecuting underage children, but we're, again, yes, I agree with you that we should have some sort. But you're talking about an issue that the parents are already thinking that they've got it under control. They're giving this child, lethal weapons.
At some point, somebody's child in America is going to do this again, and their parents are going to notice something, because this just happened, so it's going to happen again. So maybe if we tell parents, "Hey, don't do this," but at what point do they stop it? Right?
Well, it's what happens from this point. I mean, if this sheriff and the people that are first of all holding this child and the people that are going to prosecute him, if they do not set an example with this case, with this situation, and actually put the long arm of the law down on these people, then you have opened the gates. It's what happens in every level of court, where you get somebody that gets away with this and they go, "No, we can do it now."
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you something. Let me drop this atom bomb on you guys, because this is what got me alienated from a few fucking friends of mine, and I hope they listen to this eventually, because I want them to know they can fuck right off. Do you think at this point, this crime that's happening right now, with him not being persecuted right away or not being incarcerated right away, is a privilege of the skin color? And I'm noticing this. I'm saying this right now because I'm noticing 1, 2, 3, 4 of my brothers, my friends right here on this podcast right now are Caucasian.
Yep.
Okay. I am 100% Mexican, born in the United States. Is this a case of white privilege for this kid?
Of course it is.
Yes and no. He claims to be Hispanic, but
he claims, right? I read that too.
from the moment that this happened, and he walked towards those police officers, they assumed he was white, and they assumed that he didn't do anything wrong, and they let him go. So 100% this is white
They
privilege.
gave him water. He walked around all night carrying a weapon. No one checked his ID. He had a fucking an AR, right? Wasn't it an AR or something?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Open carry.
A mass, like that's a mass people shooting machine. You know, some guy has a key in his hand the day before, and now they're like, oh, it's a fancy Middle Eastern knife. Like we gotta shoot him 7 times. You know, like just because he went to his car. You know, like that is completely white privilege, and it is complete racism, and that's the problem. Like that's why the protests are happening. You know, it's like this is the
100%.
problem.
And I'm glad you guys see that, because I see it.
Yeah.
I see it, and it's for me, like during all this turmoil, during all this whole pandemic and everything, I always see, you know, the George Floyd, even go back to George Floyd, even farther than that, go back to Watts, even farther than that, go back to the last one before that. They're saying it's a black problem, or they're saying it's a Mexican problem, but they never see that it's a people problem. I never hear that. You know what I mean? I don't know how you guys were raised and how you guys grew up, but I always saw the shit side of everything. But opening my eyes and trying to be as human as possible, I see that, oh, there's a good guy there. There's a good guy there. Oh, I don't see skin color at this point anymore, you know, because I see actions, you know. This 100%, I know that we can all agree this is a heinous action. 100%. This should 100%, and I agree with Joe, should fall on the parents' lap. 100%. This is their fault because they allowed their child to walk out.
Yep.
You know,
and making it a good example, making an example for this kid and this parent is very important. I agree with that because
100%.
I mean, you've got like, I mean, I feel like it's like the conversation about like our leader right now in our country is allowing all this nastiness to happen. His whole entire platform, his entire week was centered on, if you don't elect me, all these people are coming to take away your country and your democracy, like all these bad guys. So now if you get a parent who probably, I bet you his parents did all the classes, did all the gun thing rights, probably are members and like in the gun clubs and do all the things the right way. The next one's going to be like, well, we'll just let our son do it because he won't go to jail forever. He'll just get 5-10 years and let's let them wax those brownies. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of, you know what I mean? Brownie. It makes me hungry actually. but you know what I'm saying? Like that. We need to make them.
This needs to be that focal point. This is the example that needs to happen. It needs to be the precedent. It needs to be set. There needs to be a line drawn in the fucking sand, and these people need to be held accountable. And
100%.
they need to be taken to the extreme of the law. That's what needs to happen.
You're getting adulted. You're getting life in prison. You're gone, buddy.
Well, and get, you know, life in prison. Give him 30 years for sure, and let him be the example. Let him be the law that let's call it fucking law after this fucking kid.
And I mean,
name it.
And shame him. Yeah.
Well,
you lost your guns because of this dumb shit. The dumb
Right.
shit law. I'm just calling him dumb shit. I'm not using his name.
I don't even know his name. I don't give a shit.
He's a kid. It's what's tragic is he's a child, and
That's
there's
horrible.
been it is. It's terrible. But it's on the parents and the system that allowed this to happen, and the system of racial prejudice that exists in the police itself and in the society. It's what's crazy is, you know, you touched on it very briefly, this idea that the whole reason those people are out there protesting. And say what you will about rioters and looters, those are going to get those people are going to show up no matter what the situation is. Yep. But you have a protest that is built on the inequality and injustice that's being dealt to people of color, and here you have a prime example of people of color being, their attention is being centered on them. Whenever you have a white homegrown terrorist walking the streets, a child that has been trained in homegrown terror.
Dressed as a cop, though. I mean, he was dressed as a cop.
Is he trained in homegrown terror, or has he just been radicalized by YouTube videos?
No,
it could be a combination of both, man.
Yeah.
It's an environment. You know?
But you look at his parents.
Isolation, depression.
This isn't a kid that necessarily just played video games. He was armed to the teeth by his parents. His mother was there armed to the teeth. She had weapons on her. It's bigger than that, and it's not. We can't just say this is video games. And I'm not saying it doesn't play a factor.
Yeah, no one's
Nope,
saying
I
that.
was just asking because I know there's a podcast called Rabbit Hole where this kid got radicalized and unradicalized, and so I was wondering what group this guy fell in.
I think it's like you said. I mean, I think there's a catch-all situation or not a catch-all, a conglomerate situation that
I read
a perfect storm.
I read an article today about him and his peers at school. Many of them said, "Yeah, he's this shooter type. Like he was the one in class that we would say he's the shooter type."
Okay.
Damn.
It's very MAGA red hat family. A lot of kids made fun of him for liking Trump, and he always threatened physical abuse on them all the time. That was his MO because he was this little tiny, short shit, chubby, 5'4", short,
So he's a combination of isolation.
He's a combination of gun nuts, Jesus freaks, probably Trump supporters, like all this weird stuff coming out of the woodwork. I think he's just all that, and that's what's on the parents. It's on the parents, a lot of that, because kids don't come out of a vagina like that.
No, hell no. You're right.
Let's fucking do it. Let's fucking do it.
All right.
No, they don't come out of a vagina like that. They're like, "Meh," and then you teach that thing to be
I came out with a beard, so.
Did you really?
I think Joe did too.
It's not our fault.
No, you're right, man. He's a product of his environment, and it's not the kid's fault. It's it's his environment. For that instance, you have to take those guns away from the parents.
How do you talk about that as a society? Like, what do we do about this?
Get him
Let's
mental
keep
health.
fucking buying guns. Like that's what we've done all the time. Now we've gone into regulation, and I'm all about extra training and like all that kind of stuff. Especially with police, we need a different profile. If you got like 40% of police being domestic abusers, you're hiring the wrong kind of person. Those people don't need to be doing their job. They could do the garbage. But let the garbage man be the police officer.
I know the garbage man is a good guy. There's good dudes.
There are some, but there's a huge amount of.
That's a great paying job, and it's got benefits, and those guys work really, really hard, and they work themselves in that position. I'm not saying what I'm saying is you're right. There is something wrong with how we are recruiting the people that become police officers. And like we've said before, and like I'll say again, there are good people doing that job.
Mm-hmm.
It is a necessary job, but there is no room for cops to be good, truly, as a group, if we are not policing our own, if we're not holding them accountable, if we're not.
If they're not holding themselves accountable, if they're not calling out the bad cop and pointing at him when he did it and saying him right there, him. And putting him in handcuffs, then I'm not standing up for any cop because they're not standing up for Americans.
This
100%.
This situation in particular is a prime example of the problem we have. And you have the police chief and the sheriff, who both have let this situation get as far as it got, have their own officers shooting an unarmed black man in the back in front of his children, which has got us in this position. Yeah. And now those people are going to hold this situation account. Like I don't buy it. I don't get it. I don't understand.
2 of the 3 of those cops, the 2 that were assisting, hadn't even been cops for a year. One of the cops just became a cop this January.
God dang it!
And all 3 of them said they attempted to use their tasers first, and it didn't work. Fuck you. The odds of that happening, fuck you.
Lies. 100% lies. Hey, Sean, what happened if I come over there and tase you? Will you drop like a rock or what?
So the cool thing about a taser, the way they designed it, is it drops nodes. So it's confetti. So if in fact they did deploy their tasers, there would be 2 sets of nodes. The new taser, the X2, it has 2 probes. You can pull the trigger twice, boom, boom. The older tasers, you'd have to take the cartridge out, toss the cartridge, put another cartridge in, and get back on target and shoot that. So if they did, in fact, tase this gentleman, twice. Obviously there's going to be where the probes went. If they didn't impact him, they're going to be through clothing, stuff like that. And then you're going to have these nodes all over the freaking place, dude. They're little. I mean, they're really small, little round, and they freaking fly everywhere.
But there'll be evidence of it.
Oh no, yeah. My
That's the point.
My department, if you were to use the taser for use of force, the policy was you were to pick up a bunch of nodes, put it in an evidence bag, seal it, and it goes into evidence because it's part of the case.
Right.
I can't speak for this department, but it should more likely than not be the policy of that department as well.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. So we were talking about this kid should be punished, right? And we agree that his mom should be punished as well. But
his mom, 100%.
But in what way? In what way? I think you should take her house. I think you should just take her possessions. Leave her penniless.
So it's gonna be hard to seize because that's not the they didn't use the house in the crime.
Right. I don't care.
The vehicle that they drove can be seized.
I think take her to jail, put her in jail for life, and take all of her possessions.
She'll lose them.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about changing the laws, and since we're going to change laws, let's just get rid of one of those amendments that we don't like.
Yeah, no, civil forfeiture is pretty tough. And then you have to have these crimes for the civil forfeiture. So anything that is used in the crime can be taken, can be seized. So the vehicle, the gun, anything that's in their possession, or any of the
a place where they planned the crime.
If in fact it's proven to be planned at their house,
let's do it. Let's
same thing with people that use drugs. If this is a drug house, you should be doing the paperwork and seizing.
I love it.
So you want to punish them, is what you're saying, Jason? You want
yes, I want the mom punished. I mean,
but what about the little daughter or someone that might be more innocent?
That's the reason to not do it.
Well, and you're talking about the other kids or whatever, like, and I think let's put like what ifs aside, like work within the law. If like you're saying, if they can, prosecute her to the full extent of the law, and I don't think that's going to happen. I am super doubtful that that's going to happen. I'm doubtful that even 100%. If this kid goes to jail, I think he'll be pardoned at some point, especially if this. If Trump remains the president, and
he'll speak at the convention,
right?
Well,
he's right.
We had that this week. What are you talking about? Oh, we had two people, like just the last protest.
You're right.
The last guy that was killed. Well, I'm sorry, two guys that were killed protests ago, within like a couple of days ago. Last week.
Right.
These people were pointing guns at Black Lives Matter people, being like, "Get off my property! I'm real scared. I'm real scared."
Lawyers, yeah.
Those attorneys,
my neighborhood. Yeah. Like, and now they're speaking at the RNC.
Yeah. Right. Hey, Joe.
This kid should totally speak at the RNC. This guy should totally speak for the NRA.
Well, you take all their fucking possessions and let that little kid, that little sister you were talking about, speak at the RNC.
None of them need to speak. None of these people need to have a voice. None of them.
100%. I agree with you, Ryan.
None of these people need a voice.
They should never be able to profit from these stories, ever. They should never be able to write a book. No 100%. Family member should ever be able to write a book. Nobody should make money.
Yeah. But look at all the funds they've already raised for that kid. Over $100,000. Oh, that makes me sick.
That makes me
furious. And Jacob, what was his name that got shot? Jacob Blake.
Jacob Blake.
He was handcuffed until this afternoon in his bed in his hospital. Right. Like, I mean, at least be like, sorry, you can't walk. We're not going to handcuff you.
Why was he? What was his crime? What was he
had felony warrants that were outstanding.
Oh, okay.
And so the law is, and the sheriff said, we would do this to anyone, but I mean, a national, national issue. Just
well, even if it's not a national issue, like, my understanding, he's paralyzed.
Yeah.
So
of course he's gonna go.
Well, you could wheel him off
handcuff his spokes.
As a human being, even if you're a police officer, which I was, and my big thing is having compassion. He's not gonna go anywhere. I mean, that's a funny thing to say, but it's not. Like,
so you're okay with just leaving a black guy with felonies unchained, but a white guy that just jaywalks, you want him chained to a bed because he can walk?
Jaywalking is not a criminal offense.
No, we're talking about dispensing the law equally is all I'm saying. And
no, okay. So yes, there's a policy, a department policy, more than likely, that says all suspects will be handcuffed at.
That's what the sheriff said.
Hospital, and great, that's fine. But at a certain point, as a human being, you got to say, as the sheriff, you should probably say,
the sheriff makes the call.
You know what? Hey, deputies. He's not going anywhere. Unfortunately, he's paralyzed due to us. So take the handcuffs off because I am the sheriff, and what I say goes. I supersede any policy. You got to have that compassion.
He could have done that.
Even the sergeant or even the lieutenant or their chain of command could have stepped in and said, "Hey guys, go ahead and take the handcuffs off."
But this is a prime example of what we're going to be looking at when it comes to this guy getting anybody in that area getting justice that they deserve or that they want, because they're already showing that the compassion is not an issue. The humanity is not an issue here. They're willing to attempt to murder somebody that they think is guilty. They think that it's okay, and this is a problem with police in general. And there's the sign, these protest signs going around saying, just so you know, cops aren't supposed to kill guilty people either. That's real, and they're doing that, and they feel like it's justified, and they justify it any way they can, and they use any justification they can to kill anybody that they can, because it's apparently simpler and a lot more exciting than arresting them. And it's even though they can arrest and detain white people all the fucking time, they're pretty frequently killing black people.
Yeah. And this sheriff could have chosen to take those handcuffs off, like you said, Sean.
Yeah.
Instead, those 3 days ago, instead of doing that, he got on the news and was like, well, this guy was a rapist, he's painting a bad picture now. He's a felon. Like, this is he's an abuser. He's a wife abuser. Like, so the handcuffs went off when people realized, and it became a news story. But until then, that sheriff has been like, this black guy rapist.
Ooh.
Our officers were doing their solemn duty.
I see what you're saying.
Well, that's what the fact is. That's what they've been doing and saying on the news. The sheriff's been like, this guy was a bad guy, and he was coming back. He'd beaten up his wife, whatever. Like, there's been domestic violence. Our guys knew it. They took appropriate action. Like, that's what this guy's been saying.
Okay. He started the gaslighting.
Well, his job is to protect his officers, and that's part of this whole problem that we have.
No, his job isn't to protect his officers.
That's bullshit. That's not true. Like that.
Yeah, that's not true, because
his job is to protect. Yeah, that's part of his job.
And the unions. No, I'm with you. Like we all know that his job should be to protect and serve the people that actually, in a sheriff that elected him, and as a chief of police, it should be his job to protect and serve the people in his municipality or whatever. But the problem that we have, and it's what we're protesting, it's why they say defund the police, it's that there's too much money in the police unions and in the police system in general that his job is to protect his officers and to cover his ass and to stop shit from rolling uphill and to get to the people that he reports to. Because if he can stop it there and say the things that we're talking about, saying, I have to keep this guy handcuffed to a fucking hospital, this now paraplegic person handcuffed to a hospital bed because he's got this warrant and that warrant, even though we accidentally shot him in the back 7 times. Like,
right?
I don't think it's an accident.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, of course.
No, they
it's a joke. Of course.
Yeah.
So the Second Amendment says we have the right to bear arms, and we all know what that means. But
it doesn't say that. It says we have a militia. Is what it says.
A well-regulated militia, for sure.
It doesn't say we have the right to bear arms.
I like this. Okay.
It says we have the right to have a militia, which is why we need the bazookas that we talked about earlier, Joe.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Joe.
Joe's trying to find the line with Adam.
Can I have a cannon? Do you think I can have a cannon?
Do I think you can have a cannon?
Why not?
I
don't see why
absolutely
not.
think you can have a cannon. I think,
Or a musket?
I mean, that's for 40
Jim Jeffries talked about this. I'll paraphrase him here. I think everybody should carry a fucking musket because
Okay.
musket gives you time to think. A musket gives you time to
Yes,
think. That's right.
But
You call.
don't
That's right. You
Slip it
call
back
my.
in, turn it around, and put it back in again to shoot a guy fucking twice.
Okay. So
Yeah.
should we go to revolvers and muskets?
No revolvers, dude. That's pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
Rat-a-tat-tat.
Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not
Yeah.
even a semi-automatic, right?
I mean, a revolver is a semi-automatic, technically, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, is it? See, I don't know
Yeah.
the definitions. I'm the one guy that I don't know if I
It's a revolver. It revolves.
Okay, but
It's quite,
pop, 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 pop. That's what
That's
I mean.
why I love
You gotta
Sean.
revolve it. Yeah. Okay.
I think Sean just created the name of the episode.
Sweet.
All right, so we have the right to create a militia. So what does that mean then? I want to get the Second Amendment
Exactly.
out
We
there
should-
so we
should
can talk
clarify
about
it.
it.
And what I'm saying is,
Hey,
we
yeah,
go
Ryan,
back
read
and
it.
clarify it.
Read,
What?
let's read. Yeah.
Somebody read the Second Amendment.
Oh,
Ryan,
yeah,
will
Yeah,
look
the
it up.
actual amendment. Just read it verbatim. Yeah.
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 It's gonna take me a minute because I don't have my keyboard. So
All
You're doing
right.
fine, man. You're doing good.
But what I'm trying to say is, do we have to base the law that we're basing our freedoms on the time period? Like, obviously, our founders never assumed that we were going to have an Uzi in a, they didn't know what that was. So should we be basing the Second Amendment on the
No, we
restriction?
shouldn't.
No, we
No,
should fucking amend it. We should change that fucking thing to say what it fucking should. But they
Right.
don't want to do that. The people
What
in
should
power
it say?
don't wanna do
What should it say?
that. It's great. Great.
And that's
question.
what we talked about on our show. It's like, if we're going to have this conversation of like, what is the line? What line can we not cross? No automatics, no nuclear weapon proliferation, no biological warfare weapon, like, let's define that and let's make the Second Amendment. Let's call it like 2B, like 2B. It's like our future. And like, I mean, because this amendment says in 1789, by the way, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So it's saying people are allowed to have the weapons for a well-regulated militia, because back in the day, that was what it was about. Like, we left this country and we started this war, and they're like, we need people around. We don't have an army. We're this colony. We don't have a big army. So these big bad guys we just left because of church oppression, by the way. Isn't that funny? Like, we want the ability to pray to our Jesus, only our Jesus.
Oh, whatever you guys.
But like, we need a militia because we don't have an army. Well, now our army's bigger than all the armies combined. So this is an outdated idea.
100%
About guns. If it's about gun rights, let's make a gun law. Let's make a gun amendment. That's what I'm saying. Like, we should do that. This is clearly what you can do. This is clearly what not you can do. Now, that's a big argument our society could have.
We're starting to have it right now. That's what I've been trying to get at this whole episode. What are the limitations that would be rationally put in place? Talking to two guys from Texas, two guys from Washington State, and a guy from Florida.
We all have different ideas, but I don't know. I don't know what that answer is. Definitely not automatic. Definitely not mass murder.
Definitely not automatic.
The problem there is that, and it's been the problems. I mean, automatic weapons are not legal to own unless you have a permit.
Right.
And you can get a fucking permit. And that's what all these things are, is you can pay the right amount of money.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier in the episode.
Right. And I'm glad you did, because that's if we need to do away with all of that, like
we
you're
got
saying.
it. All right. So
right.
no automatic ever. We all agree on that?
Well, I mean, as the military, I mean, like when I was in the Marine Corps, we didn't have access to automatic weapons. Well, we had access to machine guns that were only used for war, but we didn't walk around with those on base.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, we had the 240 Golf and the SAW and all these machine guns, but they were for wartime and they were for use in war. Everything we carried around with us was semi-automatic.
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think an average, Adam has a beard host needs a fully automatic weapon.
I don't think I need one. So okay.
I know for a fact I don't need one. I mean, I think that something like that should be left into the hands of somebody who needs it, like somebody who's defending us in a uniform, such as a militarized unit,
A specialized unit or a military force.
Yes.
Or well-regulated militia. No.
Or regulated militia.
But they're not regulated. There's no regulation there. That's the problem with these militias. We have militias all up and down Michigan, and nobody's regulating that because that's the whole reason they have their militias. They don't want anybody regulating anything they do. Yeah. It's what we had in Waco. They were like, we want to regulate. The ATF came in and said, we want to regulate what you're doing, and they said,
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's because they were getting bump stocks in the mail. I mean, they weren't saying.
Well, they were making automatic weapons.
That's right.
They were creating automatic weapons.
Right.
So
they were filing down
that's a whole another discussion.
But yeah.
Right. But that's why we need regulation. That's why it's similar to what we see in this cyclical politics where we have, you have a group like we have right now moving in and saying, take away all the regulations, let me do whatever I want and make as much profit as I want. And they have people on the other side going, well, you're destroying everything around you. Everything around you is being destroyed. And they're like, no, it's okay. We took away these regulations so we can make more money for everybody, right? For everybody. Right. It's helping everybody out. We're creating jobs. Sure. Okay, but you're burning down the fucking forest. You're poisoning our water. And then we come in with another group and they say, well, here's all these regulations back in place. Yep. And then it's cyclical where we end up back in this situation. We're like, well, let's take away some of these regulations. Well, no, because then we have this housing crisis where the fucking people are allowed to just make as much money as they fucking want to while people are homeless and, and build homes and nobody can fucking afford them. And then they go, well, it's a problem with regulation, and it's the same situation that we're having with guns. And I love that we're talking about this, but I don't think, and pessimist in me, we could also go around and say, I believe I should have access to grenades or I should have access to this. I don't know, we're not going to solve this obviously in the time we have, but I love that we're talking about this because I don't think that I think that the majority of people, and it's the problem you have with this issue, the majority of people that feel strongly one way or another about this either feel that you should have strong, heavy regulations on all this, take away people's arsenals, right? Or you have people on the other end that say there should be no regulations, and I should be allowed to have whatever the fuck I want. And again, to quote Jim Jeffries, you're bringing let's say you have the most high-powered rifle available, 50 cal semi-automatic 50 cal long rifle that could shoot down a fucking plane. Okay, let's say you have that capability. All right. You're bringing a fucking gun to a drone fight. Okay, the government that you're claiming to be protecting yourself against has access to technology that you cannot afford. You cannot win that fight. And we've already seen that when the tyrannical government steps in and does what the Second Amendment people and the right wing, the NRA say that they're holding up this amendment for, when we see tyrannical government in action, those people step the fuck aside. They do one of two things. They step the fuck aside and go, well, they shouldn't have gotten out of line. They shouldn't have spoken up. Or you have what happened the other day, where you have a kid walking around with a fucking machine gun, with an assault rifle, gunning down innocent people, innocent quote unquote people, and still you have the Second Amendment people, the right wingers, these NRA nuts going, well, we saw that coming, or
we know all the complaints. What we're looking for is solutions. What we're talking about is solutions that somebody can listen to, put a spin on, and take this all a little bit further.
There's no solution, dude. It's just like
there's not.
It's like the BLM movement. This has been happening for the entire time. There's we've done little regulations, and the NRA basically takes care of all that on the political side. There's nothing happening in the politics.
But then you're talking about an amendment. What should the amendment say?
But you're talking. This is hypothetical stuff, right?
Yeah, of course it's hypothetical. This shit is never going to happen. But maybe AOC and Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden and Donald Trump are in a bar together and they go, those guys are fucking geniuses because they said what we've all been wanting to do, but we can't They can't do that until we tell them what to do. And that's
All
what
right,
I'm asking. What should this amendment say to Donald Trump and Joe Biden, who are right now shooting up opium in the fucking White House, going, we want gun regulation. We can do this right now. If only Joe and Ryan would tell me. It's a hypothetical world. I can believe that Joe Biden is like, maybe him and Donald Trump are making out, having some wine together.
Yes.
Maybe
Sword
they're really,
fight.
they're
Sword fight.
Sword fight.
The Senate, we need a congressional committee that sits down and gets some ideas together, and it's like, these are the weapons we can have, these are the ones we don't think we can have. Does
But
everyone kind of agree on this? And they're like, nope. And then all these people argue, and then the subcommittee has a subcommittee, and they're like, this, no drone stuff, no, even single fire weapon drone stuff. That's still, you can't do that. You can't fly one shotgun to someone's house and then pop. You shouldn't be allowed to do that.
But
So it is about drawing lines on what is and isn't, and it has to be open to when technology changes, when neural net becomes a thing. That like now, like I can't download that project into his. No, bummer, I can't do that either. It's
I'm all for that, and I would love to hypothetically throw it around. Sure, let's pretend that we're that little subcommittee. Absolutely, I don't think we should. I don't think Joe Schmo and his fucking, I don't think Ryan should have access to fully automatic weapons.
I love it.
Oh, no.
Do we all have a yay on that?
Yay.
Oh, yay. Yay,
But how's the ATF going to make their money?
The only
Oh,
fuck them then.
because Joe's gonna buy one, so they made the
Can we? I don't think that. I also don't believe, and I submit this for the committee.
Love it.
I don't believe that there should be a lobbying group that profits off of the sales of guns, controlling any part of my political machine that's in place.
I agree
100%.
with that.
I agree.
100%.
And why the fuck can we all agree on that, but nobody else can talk about that? Because there's
nobody's
fucking
smart
money
enough to
involved.
get that far. Because
No, they're
Because
smart
they all
enough.
die.
This is a politics
The money,
thing.
baby.
It's the money.
Well, yeah, but
It's the same reason. It's the same reason we'll never get universal health care, because there's too much money in pharma. There's too much money in the deregulation and the ability to profit off of this money. I mean, talk about when insulin was created. The creator of insulin made it almost free to the people.
Yeah.
Right. Gave the fucking patent away, and even now, 200 years later, well, I don't know the exact time, enough time has gone by that people are paying their last fucking penny to get the little bit of insulin they need to survive.
Yep.
And that's because there's too much money in it. And there's too much. Yeah, it's
they're never going
ridiculous.
to give up what they have, and that's
Right.
about, and it's everything. I mean, we can talk about any subject, and that's the fucking answer. The haves are going to not give up. They're not giving up their power. Politics, money, guns, drugs, women, God, anything. They're not giving it up.
Oh, but if they did, this is the way to do it. What about a victim literally suing the gun manufacturers out of existence themselves,
100%.
like they're doing with I can't remember what they're doing. They're doing it all over the place with everything, Talcum powder, they're suing it out of existence.
Sweet and low.
Yeah. What if they did that? What if they just
should be allowed to? They should be allowed to.
Okay, I like that idea. Right, just send the manufacturers overseas.
I don't know.
Especially in our free market.
Of course you don't, because you want to play the fun guns. Like we all want.
No, it's not necessarily that. It's just
there's a direct, scientifically speaking, there's a direct correlation between talcum powder and cancer. You can't, a gun itself cannot harm anything. It's an inanimate object. It doesn't have chemicals.
Oh boy.
Chemical backgrounds or anything like that. It literally can't. I'll go grab my gun right now.
The gun
it will not
doesn't have a brain. It doesn't.
Exactly. This goes back.
The dumbest argument is the dumbest argument. Go ahead.
No, but seriously, no. You can't just. Yes, you could get a ton of money from fucking gun manufacturers if you want, but it doesn't. It's not going to solve shit.
It's not going to solve the problem.
Because
that's the point I wanted to make.
It's a people problem. It's a mental problem. It's a education problem. We have to educate the masses on gun education. That's why I said before even we talk about safes or anything, you got to talk about your kids with guns. Like when I brought home a little BB gun, a little Red Ryder for my boy, who I knew wouldn't have any problem, we went over the safety rules, hammered. He could come in here and recite them verbatim to you, the 4 firearm safety rules to you, and he knows not even to go near that at our house, at anybody's house. And if somebody does, he's coming home, he's calling me, we're taking care of it. And that's where it's going to have to start, is education.
You take care of it if he does it.
What's that?
I'd be discipline him if he does it, if he breaks the rules, something like that.
He's not touching that gun again. What
do you do?
I'll be serious with you. My boys thought it was funny to shoot my windows, my upstairs windows in my house with a BB gun. My younger did, and they don't have access to that gun anymore. Period.
All right.
Until they're ready, until I feel they're ready to be serious about it, they don't get a BB gun. It shoots little small pellets, but it's a gun.
Yeah,
it can
still a
cause
gun.
harm. It caused property damage. And my younger son, you have the maturity issue there. And I thought he was mature enough, and we went over the rules and all that good stuff, and he could recite them to me. But he had the maturity issue where he thought it would be funny to pop a couple windows out on mom and dad's house, and he doesn't get to shoot that gun anymore, period.
Yeah.
So, that's where you have to be. I mean, it's a super serious thing. It's a fun tool. They're fun to shoot. They have their self-defense value, but it's not a game. It's not a toy. Once something comes out of that muzzle, that's it. So,
right. Yeah, and Sean, that's kind of what I said when I first started talking about guns today. I was like, someone needs to be the parent and be like, sorry, you don't get to keep your toys.
Yes.
And I feel that on an entire societal level. Now, how do we as men or women or whatever, how do we, no, the collective, not you, everyone. How do we, like, we like guns, right? Like if I go to Vegas to gun ranches, I'm getting the fucking minigun. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get a couple, like I'm doing the minigun, dude. And I want a bazooka too. I want a rocket launcher. I want to do this thing. I'll rocket launch the cow. I'll be the guy.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Is she done with laundry?
You can rocket launch a cow?
In Southeastern Asia, you can blow cows with rocket launchers.
Right in the
Hold
anus.
on. Siri, book me a trip to Southeast Asia.
Yeah, I want to go with you. I want to minigun a fucking rhino right up the anus,
It's better than like a cheetah or some panther, glorious animals, endangered, but it's frowned upon. The point is like, this is like the idea with like gun clubs. Like everyone wants to try it'd be fun. Like I really want to be a sniper. I would really love to do sniper shooting,
yeah,
like mile-long shots.
Cool.
It's actually a good conversation.
You go to a place. It's not. She's right. It's
Yeah, I know.
But like,
there's always the mute button too.
Like go shoot a minigun out like with a group that's someone. There's a minigun expert, there's an expert to do that. Like that's where guns should be. And like if you like Sean, like his child shot the window. Well, you don't get the gun anymore. Well, like Texas, you can't not shoot people, or cops, you can't not shoot people. You don't get guns anymore.
Right.
And in Washington.
Now that cop, you had an incident, you don't get a gun for 6 months. I don't know where you start that, but it's like the parent thing. It's like the parent thing. And like you got to be able. You don't get this privilege. It's a privilege, man. It's not a right. Like I mean, the regulated militia. Like who's going to regulate it? I just think.
Right.
But Sean was making a good point, and that is if you're not responsible. You don't get it. You don't get
100%.
it.
That was my point. At what age do we start the responsibility, and whose responsibility is it at that point?
Well, definitely the parents.
We have a problem that transcends that, because we have grown-ass adults that are trained to do the job that are misusing these rights and these freedoms that we have, and killing other people, and they're staying on the fucking payroll. They're not even like some of them. You go on your automatic, suspended with pay or whatever. You're going on your little bit of a timeout, and then once the fucking smoke clears, they go, here's your gun, your badge back, like come back to work, we need you.
Right.
And and we don't have the actual. There's no taking it away that is equivalent to taking a life.
But
Now,
the
Joe,
answer,
do you think? I'm
the-
sorry. Do you
No.
think that it's an acceptable thing to come right after a suspension, come back? Oh, here's your gun and badge. Go back to work. Or would you think the alternative to that would be, hey, okay, so now you're back to work. You don't get your gun back. You're going to go through training.
Or
think
yeah,
that might-
or sure, maybe, or go write parking tickets or some bullshit that doesn't involve
Right.
you needing
Or-
the sidearm. Sure.
Like, or our new Second Amendment says that once you've got an infraction, you don't get this job anymore. It's the law. Like, we can't give you your job back.
right.
That's part of
Boom.
the new Second Amendment B. 2B.
And
I like it.
You don't get it. I'm sorry. You lose your job.
And we go with Sean's idea of raising the future gun owners to be responsible.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's an age. Like I mean, I told my 6-year-old about the rules. He clearly understood them.
I was just trying to get you to say it was your responsibility to train
No,
your kid.
100%.
That's
Oh,
all.
100%. No, it absolutely is. But it's a maturity issue. Even though he understood the rules, he still wasn't mature enough to even have a BB gun.
Right.
And
And it's like, I mean,
with any gun, if you're not mature enough to follow the rules, you're not mature enough to even possess this, period. And that goes back to the age of, most states are 18 for open carry or whatever.
Nope.
You've had a little bit of life experience, just a
30 years old minimum.
For a semi-automatic. Yeah.
Get your college days, get your college times out.
No, for real,
That's
And
30, dude.
And,
That's where
and
you get
it'll eliminate, like, you have these teenage gang bangers that the right is so worried about.
And you don't get bullets till you're 50.
Oh, bro.
Come on, man. Man, that's a long way.
That's a long time for Sean.
Not that long. I'm 10 years from now, bro.
Right? Hey, I'm 49. That's why I said it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Here we go.
I got 5 years to go then.
Right. I love it. And there's safety features so you can have your gun. I really agree with that you should get a pistol if you're in your 20s. You shouldn't get but in Montana.
No, hold on. You
feel a pistol.
You brought this up a while back, Jason, that this idea that pistols are somehow safer than long arms. And I don't believe that that's true. I believe that a rifle should be where everybody starts. If you're going to be a gun owner, you should start with a rifle.
Yeah, it's more of use of, like, a pistol is more for self-defense, a long gun is for hunting. So that's where I'm at. Like,
right,
you don't need
hunting is safer than.
Yeah, but you're not going to hunt with like a 9mm pistol. You're going to use a long gun with it. Like, if you're deer hunting, you're not using a pistol, but you don't need to bring the long gun with the scope into the city of Dallas to protect yourself. That's where I was going.
It's safer to have a scoped gun that's this big that everyone can see in the restaurant. That shoots and you gotta.
Right.
Okay,
I just don't think it's necessary to have. If you bring that into Dallas, why do you have that? I'm going hunting where? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make zero.
So pistol marksmanship is a hell of a lot harder than rifle marksmanship. So we have really cool, you start with the BB gun, and then they got these really cool 22 long rifles, which are so much fun. Rounds are pretty inexpensive.
That's what I learned on, actually.
They go a little pop. They don't hurt the ears as much. You're still wearing your hearing protection, but that's where the education aspect comes in.
Right.
At this 9mm pistol, I'm not going to give my 6-year-old, even though I have, I felt comfortable doing that because he was ready for it. But more likely than not, the everyday citizen that's not a firearms instructor, hasn't been a police officer, all that stuff, is not going to give their kid a pistol to start on. We're going to start off on a BB gun, a 22 long rifle, stuff like that. And I think that's where the law needs to stay. Normally, you can get a rifle at 18, 21 to get a pistol. Washington State voters decided that 21 has to be a rifle, which whatever.
Whatever.
You can't. 18-year-old can serve in the army, but they can't buy a 22 long rifle until they're 21.
Jesus.
Gotcha.
They could have put a little bit of verbiage in there to kind of correct that if it was, an AR or something like that, as opposed to a 22 long rifle. But it is what it is. But I think that's where Joe's.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Pistol marksmanship. I will say, as a police officer, every police officer, this covers every conversation we're having here. With the shootings, all that stuff. They go through a basic law enforcement academy, a basic.
Right.
And, you got these college kids that are they just got their bachelor's degree from a university or whatever. And they want to be, they got their criminal justice degree. They have no life experience. And they went and have become a cop, which is fantastic. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But they don't have much life experience. And then they go through a basic law enforcement academy. Washington State's requirement is 19 weeks. It's 720 hours.
How many?
720 hours.
The police academy?
I'll be honest with you. On the bigger agencies after that, they go through a FTO program. My FTO program wasn't much because we were a small town, and that's an issue in itself. I don't want to go on to that because I don't really want to talk about my department or anything like that. But the bigger agencies, they go through 12 to 19-week FTO program, depending. So they get a little bit more training, a little bit more experience, stuff like that. But I don't think it's enough. Honestly,
it should never stop. It should always be ongoing.
Did you train yourself extra, or did you just feel like you're
so
training?
it
sounded like
me,
you said you weren't training enough.
For firearms, we shot a lot in the academy, stuff like that. And coming from the Army, I was infantry. I held a rifle, never touched a pistol. So me and my dad went and shot some pistols. Didn't go over basic marksmanship, nothing like that. Had a good time, good stuff, but we didn't go over the marksmanship stuff. So we got a little bit of that in the academy. Went some use of force stuff, all that, and then you go through the agency training, which goes through a lot more detail. But honestly, going down to threat dynamics, learning like a lot more stuff about pistol shooting, just firearms in general. I learned so much more about just the basic pistol marksmanship than I ever did in the basic enforcement academy. And it's honestly, it's scary. And it's unfortunate, the smaller agencies, they don't have the funding to say, hey, you're going to go shoot some rounds this day and this day. Oh, hey, sorry, I know you worked a 12-hour shift. You're going to go to this training. They just to do that as opposed to the bigger agencies, which they have hundreds of people, which they can go back and forth and should be doing all this training. So
that's scary. So is this place you're talking about like biodynamics or whatever you're talking about?
Threat.
Is this like, what is it?
Threat dynamics.
Threat dynamics is
this like a company, or is this something you're involved with? Is it like a?
So I'm kind of an on-call employee right now. So I was a firearms instructor there after.
Okay, you're a firearms instructor. Okay, cool.
And I was the staff manager there.
Because what I was gonna say is that what you were talking about, like you're giving your children guns and learning how to shoot, and a lot of people do that, and they just kind of. I mean, I understand that. The need to have the safety. But like, you're military and you have police experience, and you've got now you're a firearm instructor, and hearing from someone who has all this, shooting experience, right? Someone who teaches it to their children, then to hear that you don't feel like you were trained properly by the organizations.
Well, no, not properly. I don't think.
Because I'm already scared for your children, based on your just like teaching them weapons. But now it's like you're the one that should be the most expertly trained on this.
Well, correct. So now I am. I could teach anybody.
I believe you. now. I know. I'm just saying, like, that's just scary, dude. That like every parent thinks that they're smart enough to do this, or that they're good enough to do this. But
Well,
someone
no,
in the military and the police and does training and still saying that they don't feel like they're trained right.
No. He's saying
No, what I
right
meant
initially at the
That's what I'm
basic
yeah,
level of
so
police
I'm
academy.
talking
yeah, the basic law enforcement
And
academy.
I'm thinking about the cop in
So-
the street, just telling their children.
That's what I'm referring to is like,
I'm also
unfortunately,
trained.
they're not given enough training. Now,
Right.
as a police officer, I became a firearms instructor, and then I
Right.
learned a whole hell of a lot more.
Right.
I can teach my 3-year-old how to shoot a gun.
But he's talking about you right after your initial training, not you now.
No. That's why I brought that up. Like that's why it's the basic law enforcement.
Right.
They do the basic,
And
then
that's
it's
90% of the police on the streets is what we're saying. And that's
Yeah.
what's scary, because that basic training cop that's on the streets also thinks he's good enough to teach his kids.
Well,
You know what I mean?
5%,
I think
5
that's
to
what Ryan's
20%
trying to
of me.
say.
No, don't take words out of my mouth. I meant
Okay.
those words specifically for now too. So like 10 to 20% of me now still goes, why teach an animal, a human animal, baby, to use a weapon that it's like its brain's not even developed yet until it's like, let's say 30, I wish, but like 21, 22, like when your brain's really like 18, 20, that's when your brain really gets developed, like where you understand, like teaching anything to use weapons that young is dangerous and scary. I mean, I know that you need to do it. Like I know especially if you have it around, like they need to be trained, and I get that. But no, part of me is not just saying, there's one now. But like, like it's still dangerous to me, and it scares me even if you know what you're doing, because a child is a child, I just think that.
Yeah, I think that if you
don't take the sting out of what I said. I meant that. Like I didn't mean that.
so
I think that if you condition, or you're not necessarily conditioned. I think that if you kind of normalize it, that these tools are there for, for recreation or for home defense or for protection. If you instill that respect to that tool, because that's all it is,
right? It doesn't.
I think that we can change that mindset of our future generation, and hopefully, with how I know how I raised my kids, and it's, I tried to instill that, the confidence. I tried to instill that, there's good in people, no matter what kind of shit I've been through, to still believe, to still hope. I think that with those kind of morals and upbringing, and with, giving them that respect of teaching them and being able to have those kind of weapons in the house, I think that it's a good thing, for most, not all, because I know some I can point out like 5-6 families that I know that those motherfuckers should not have guns in their house.
That's the ones I'm thinking of.
Even in a fucking safe. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the idea, again, to fucking paraphrase Jim Jeffries. We have to play to the idiots of our society. That's how society works.
Unfortunately, yes.
We should. And he talks about, I take drugs like a champion, but Kevin killed his family when he was on cocaine, so I can't take cocaine now. Thanks, Kevin.
That's right.
Fucking Kevin.
But yeah, right. But we can't do that with firearms, and we're at a point now where we have this huge juxtaposition of stances where the majority of gun owners believe that they are teaching, just like the majority of police officers that have this basic training believe that they have enough knowledge to pass on to their families and to carry out their responsibilities. Right. Well, the majority, I would say, of gun owners and just like Sean was talking about earlier, with this very basic, like, I know these 4 laws and principles of gun safety, that should be enough. It's just not. And we're talking about something that has the most drastic consequences for misuse. And it's not treated like that. And like you were saying, Adam, about the respect that is instilled, and the solemnity that is supposed to weight of this responsibility that we're passing on to our children, it's getting missed, and it's been getting missed. It's been getting omitted from the training to the
100%.
point where we are now seeing a 17-year-old kid illegally walking the streets, murdering people, and having the police assume that he's up to he's one of their guys. Hey, thanks for being here, kid. Here's a bottle of water. Is that blood on your hands? What the fuck, man?
Right.
And that's where we're at. And we can't. There's no putting. I don't know if there's any putting that genie back in the fucking bottle. I don't know if we can undo this.
It's like the school shooting issue. And like I think I need to say this now.
Say it.
Most gun owners that I know are responsible gun owners. Most people are good enough and are human or decent enough human beings to do the right thing. So while I am attacking those people, I am also saying that like most people that I know are decent about it, and I trust most people when they talk about it. But like this is an issue. Like I may be a gun expert. Like let's say like Sean teaches marksmanship. Like he's an expert on guns. Like he knows about guns. He knows all the things, and he knows how to teach safety. And he's a relatively, I assume, smart human being. Like knows how to do things and stuff. But those people are not like little 5-year-old sociopaths and know this information. So even if you're able to be safe, you don't know what it's going to do to a little child, that's a sociopath, like, I mean, I'm sure there's some evidence about what happens, but those little kids then eventually break into someone's gun locker and then they're shooting their freaking friends at school. And this is something that is happening exclusively here. So it's not like, I mean, this is not a human problem. This is an American problem. Or a United States of American problem. So like that's why this is so difficult. And I don't know. I feel like I started saying I'm sorry, young people, but now I'm attacking again.
No, you have a good point that I wanted to get into it, the mental illness of it all and recognizing it. And like Sean might be sorry to use you as an example. Adam might be the best guy to teach a kid a gun, but he might not be the best to recognize mental health issues, even if he knows his son. And so even if he's taught his kid everything, he doesn't know what his kid is hiding. He doesn't know the depression. Right. Or his son's friend.
Or take all that away. And what if tomorrow Adam has a fucking embolism in his brain or some kind of issue that he can't even you know what? Again, Jim fucking Jeffries, from time to time, we all get a little sad. And it's like, for sure they do, man. And people get fucking sad. And by the way, you don't like how this is playing out. Guess what? I'm going to fucking kill everybody around me and then fucking pop myself. Because that's the statistics prove that's more likely to happen than somebody breaking into your house and you gunning them down. That's the problem. That's a problem. And we don't talk about that real often. And you know what? You're talking about mental illness, Jason.
Yeah.
The gun rights people that tout this Second Amendment stuff so often, that praise Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan did a lot for gun owners. And he also did a lot to destroy mental health in America. We've talked about this on Denton County Collective a couple times. But the mental health care system in America is beyond broken. And that shit started with Ronald Reagan really dismantling our mental health care system. Right. And it's not gotten any better in the 40 years since he was president, or less than 40 years now since he's been president. It hasn't gotten any better. But we've got, exponentially more gun owners. And we knowingly sell them these guns, and knowing that the majority of them will lose their minds before they fucking die, and that they're going to use these weapons for,
something.
And that was Sean's first point when we started talking tonight.
Okay.
Like mental health is it's not a gun conversation. We need to have a mental health conversation. Right. And then I said we don't really deserve our toys because we should take them. That's my point. Like it's a cyclical conversation. That's why these conversations are so hard.
I love it.
Start saying the same damn thing,
Well, I missed the beginning, but
I was just.
But it would naturally go there too. Yeah.
Damn it, Joe.
I do want to say I think we should start wrapping up, and I
gotta get going, guys.
I want to give a final word to Adam, and then we'll just go right across the screen there.
Look, I think that with conversations like this, difficult topics like this, coming together with a small group. I mean, whether it be your gun club, whether it be your militia, whether it be your family, to talk about these kind of difficult situations, whether it be worldly, whether it be right in your own house, guns, respect, growing up, dude, do it together. That's all I got to say. Just do it together.
All right. And, how about Ryan?
I just think that if we pray to Jesus, he will save us from all of the gun violence and fix all the problems. Yeah.
I love it.
WAP, buddy. WAP.
How about you, Sean?
You know, I really enjoyed tonight. You know, everybody's definitely got something to bring to the table here, and it opens up conversations. It doesn't matter what I believe in, you know, whether I'm what politics I believe in, whatever. You know, we've as Americans, we have to come to the table and figure this shit out. Period. This shit has to stop. You know, and it's and foremost about safety and mental health, and then we can start talking about the other shit. But I think that's where we need to start. And this is a good start. And you know, if we change one or two people's minds on things or get the ball rolling, then hell yeah.
Hell yeah. How about you, Joe?
You know, I want to believe that what we're doing here matters, and I think that it does, especially among each other, because you know, we're doing exactly what Adam was talking about. We're talking about these hard issues, and we're laughing about them whenever we are uncomfortable with the truth that's out there. And we're even still, you know, even when we disagree, we can come to a mutual amount of understanding. I don't think that there's a lot of that going on, and it's difficult for that to go on when you're not looking at each other in the eyes and hearing the other person's voice and understand that they're laughing with you or at you, depending on the situation. And I think to kind of further on what Sean was saying, I think it does matter where our political allegiances are and where our morality allegiances are. More importantly, you know, if we can, as a responsible gun owner, if you know that I'm morally sound to some degree, it carries a lot more weight than somebody who, you know, obviously doesn't have a moral standing of some sort that is based in you know, a solid place. Pray it away, I guess. Pray the guns away.
So everyone gets guns but Baptists. I'm just saying.
I just want to say that the media portrays us all as radical right or radical left, but the truth is I think we all just fell pretty close to center on an issue that's pretty contentious, and I think there's a lot of facts there that are hard to dispute. I'm going to say you can listen to the Denton County Collective, Adam Has a Beard, or Public Access America on Spotify, SoundCloud, and you should check out the YouTube stuff too. Thank you for listening to Public Access America.